2013 Dodge Charger here, 5.7 Hemi. Today I'm going to be showing you how to change the water pump on it. Water pump recently just went out, spewed water all over everywhere. Luckily it was just right down the road, and been chasing the leak for a while, couldn't figure out where it was leaking antifreeze. Obviously the water pump's culprit, so get up under there, we're going to change it. So I'll show you how. So the first thing we need to start with is removing the engine cover. Then we're going to move the air intake assembly. We'll come over here, disconnect that. We're going to either take an 8mm screwdriver, remove that, then we're going to remove this screw, and remove this hose. Now some people have the tool for this, others, well, a socket wrench will do fine. Once you get it right where it needs to be, you'll probably need some leverage. The good old cheetah bar. Now before you do that, if you don't know how the belt's routed, make sure you take a picture, draw a picture, whatever you need to do. And if you've never replaced it, now would be time probably to replace the belt. Alright, so I'm going to take this time, show y'all something. Now if you're kind of changing the Serpentine belt, or trying to figure out if your water pump is bad, you usually take it. See all that wiggle in it? That is no good. Alright, now before I get started with anything else, this hard bypass line right here, I'll take some WD-40. Spray it first, then I'll come back to that later. Take a 16mm and remove the idler tensioner here. Now the idler pulley over here is a simple 13mm. So let's break that loose and remove it. Long bolt. So there we go. Now I am going to go ahead and take a 10mm and loosen this hard line. Now I'm going to go ahead and unplug this sensor here. Pull out on the red clip, push in, and it's removed. Now if you need to get to the sensor, I believe it's a 19mm, but luckily the new water pump for this car that we got has the new sensor already in it. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and take a 13mm and remove the thermostat housing. Don't drop a bolt. Before I start removing the water pump, since everything else is out of the way, I'm going to carefully pry up on that hard line. WD-40 should have soaked in. So I should be able to very carefully okay. Yeah, there's not much room to play. Alright, now I'm going to take a deep well 15mm and remove the stud. Now before I start removing the water pump bolts, spray a little WD-40 around that hose. Then I'm going to have to reach up in there, and probably won't be able to get on camera because of where it's at. I'm going to have to take something like pliers or something because it's in an awkward position and loosen the clamp so I can pull the hose off. Okay, so I'm about to remove the bolts from the water pump. So you can see how many there are. What I'm going to do is as I remove them, I'm going to put them back in here because of different lengths where they came out of. See, stud's already here. Now the bolts are out. Didn't take much to loosen it off. Alright, so what I'm about to do here, I got the new water pump. You can see all the bolts are in it, where they came out at. I'm going to transfer them from this one at a time to the old pump that way. I can put this one on and pull from that pump each bolt and put them back in place exactly as they were. Now, let's set the gasket up, get it in place before. Alright, now I'm just going to go ahead, now that the gasket is in place, make sure to push it down, secure it in place so it doesn't move. So if you have to reuse a sensor, swap that out, or preferably put a new one in. What I'm going to do, take the stud, line it up, bolt, make sure I put it in the right spot, and I'm going to continually grab, and just make sure where you grab from off the old water pump matches where you're putting them. Matches where you're putting them in on the new pump. Now once I'm going to start all these by hand. I'm going to go around and snug them down, and then I'll tighten them down. I'm going to go ahead tighten the rest of the water pump bolts. If you stop when you got a new O-ring gasket, that's the time to do it. It's pretty easy, just slip it on and go. Push it down in there, reinstall the bolt holding that one in place. Going back to the tin and just snugging that down. And now I'm going to go ahead, after it's all tightened down, reinstall the lower hose. Now I'm going to go ahead and put New thermostat in. Tighten it down. Now, go ahead and reinstall the sensor. You can put everything else back into place. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is idler pulley back on. Back to the 15 millimeter for the tensioner. And of course, with everything, since we're screwing into aluminum, try not to over tighten anything too much because you don't want to strip any of the aluminum out. Alright, now it's time to reinstall the serpentine belt. Now I went ahead and got it all wrapped back around except for on this idler tensioner here, or the idler pulley, so that I can release the tension and slide it up over. Tighten down this clamp on the throttle body. And plug the last sensor back up. And of course, don't forget to reinstall this hose. Double check everything real quick. Alright, now filling it up. Went ahead and removed the plug right there. It's pulling it from the coolant reservoir there. So it's going to be a little bit of a slow process. Add, let drain. Because there is no air bleed valve on these. You can install one or just do the factory plug. Water pump is changed, all the coolant's in, everything's good to go. I've been letting it run for a little bit, watching the temp gauge, just staying where it should. Haven't seen any leaks of any kind, been paying attention. Let out the air. The overflow, the coolant tank is where it should be. I'm good to go. Now, this is something you can do, might take an hour or two. Not really that bad of a job to change out. You can do it yourself, save yourself a lot of time and money by just doing it. I hope this information proved helpful. As always, thanks for watching.